Hi, I'm Brenda Yoho, and welcome to Solutions Saturday. I'm once again going to talk a little bit about lead with two rules, feeling good and feeling safe. I've been talking about it, and I've been talking about page 73 in my book, and it's the 12 childhood resilience resources. And I've covered a little bit about it. And I was talking about the last time, I talked about that I was going to start talking about depression a little bit with our youth. And most of the time, people think about depression with adults, but it really happens with kids as well. And as spring is coming, kids start to get a little bit restless and they want to be outside and they start, hanging out with their friends more and thinking about belonging in groups. And sometimes not all of the kids belong to a group. This is when we start seeing a lot of things ramp up with bullying and kids feeling isolated. And that's one of the areas I want to talk a little bit about. So, on page 73, if you don't have the book, please let me know and I will help you get it. It's available on Amazon and at Barnes and Noble. And it's so important that it's available to not just school people, that it's for parents, it's for community members, it's for leaders, it's for organizations. You can apply these strategies in several different areas in your life. I'm focused more on education and our youth right now, just because that's the area I feel that it needs to be addressed right now more than ever. I know that we have some troubles with some of the things that are happening in our public education system, and they're getting a bad name. And not all educators are horrible. I just want to make sure that people understand that, and that just like any organization, just like any place, there's always going to be someone that's not doing things the way that we would like for them to do things, but that doesn't mean that we're all horrible. So back to the book. Kids want to know that they're belonging, that they feel valued, they have somebody they can look up to, they have a trusted adult, that they know that somebody's looking out for them, somebody's listening to them, somebody understands what they're trying to say. And not everybody is able to communicate verbally with what they need to say. So as adults, we need to be able to hear what's not being said. And so there's some things that we need to look for. Now I start talking about depression and looking for the characteristics of depression back in the book, page 120, 121. And there's lots of things that we can look at that doesn't necessarily mean that a child is depressed, because it could be linked to other things. But it's a change in a child's behavior that you notice as somebody who is seeing them daily, that that's not necessarily their personality. That's a change that has occurred, and you're thinking, that just doesn't seem like them. So if they're irritable, if they're starting to have physical complaints and being sick and complaining about headaches and this and that, there's maybe something going on with them, but maybe it's also something else. There's got to be a lot of things that we need to understand the why behind the things that they're saying and doing. Short-term memory impairment, difficulties with planning and organizing, facial expressions, peer rejection. If you notice that kids are not playing with them or talking with them, there's lots of things that can give us signals that something's going on with the child that we're seeing in our classrooms. Oftentimes, I've been known to tell people that kids will reach for a way to self-medicate themselves. Kids start to turn to drugs and alcohol when they want to get to be able to what they consider feeling good and feeling safe. And we all know that drugs and alcohol is not the solution to the problem that they're trying to solve. That's why it's important for us to show them steps and give them opportunities to make choices that we know are the better choices for them. And we can't tell them what choices to make. All we can do is provide them with the support and information they need to make the better choices. And I know I talked about questions, and I still am going to go back to those questions. I think there's a difference between questioning and interrogating. And I always enjoyed asking questions, and doing that wait time and letting kids process and be able to have that time to be able to think and to be able to know that I'm going to wait for them to give me a response back because I valued them, their thoughts, and their opinions. And once they understood that I was going to wait for them to give me a response back, they understood that I was going to wait them out. Did it take a lot of time? Yeah, but after it caught on for a little while, they understood that, okay, she's going to wait. So they understood that that was the process. And it also is important for them to understand that we're all going to do that when we're doing the lead with two rules. The teachers started doing that as well. So consider when you suspect that a child is having some difficulties, begin by inviting them in. Have them have lunch with you. Start by asking, when have you ever been afraid to come to school? That's a good question, and maybe you can share with them that, when I was little, I was kind of afraid to come to school. There was this one day, you can tell them a story. Maybe you can ask them, is there anything, can you tell me something that stresses you out? I can tell you that I get stressed out if I am really busy and with my kids and I forget to get stuff for lunches. Try to help them with thinking about some of the things that's bothering them and try to see if you can figure out if there is something that is truly bothering them that you can help with facilitating problem solving to help with that. We know that as spring break comes around, the kids will be gone for a little while, a few days. Sometimes there's a couple weeks. It depends on their school calendar and what's the break looks like for every school. When that time frame, when the kids are gone, we don't know necessarily what happens during that time. Sometimes kids go on vacation, sometimes they don't. I can tell you, we took a winter break and we've been planning it for a long time. So we've been saving money. We knew that we were going to take the kids to Disney World. That it was a big, my granddaughter was turning 16. So we knew she was going to turn 16. So we knew that we were going to do that. But it was a shocker for us of how much it cost and how much it costs when we were in the park. And my husband made a very good statement, and he's right. When Walt Disney created Disney, his goal was to make it a place where families could enjoy time together, that they could enjoy a vacation and enjoy having fun together as a family. And he said, this is out of the ballpark for them to be able to enjoy this because of the stress of the amount of money it costs to be able to come in and to have this family vacation. I agree with him. It was a lot of money. We enjoyed it. It was great, but it was a lot of money. And I had to think about families that can't afford to do that and are missing out on the magic that is created for the people who attend the parks. It's different today than it was years ago. So it is a different experience now than it was. I'm not going to say it's completely the way Walt Disney had created it to start with. It's much different now, but still, people need to have a place that they can afford to go. And the way that the economy is right now, I'm not sure that people can afford to do vacations. And if they do, it's very costly. And I feel bad about that. The kids that I think about who are living in poverty, it's very hard because when they have the spring break, they're not guaranteed to have the meals and the things that they're used to having in a structured situation like school. I think about a lot of things that are different for every body, every family. And we have to think about families that are living in some kind of hardships that we're not used to. If we're a structured family that has a mom, a dad, and a home, and a good paying job. It's different for families who have pieces of that missing. And we need to think about that because kids are smart. They feel those things. They feel the stress. They can recognize that. And I want us to think about if we see and hear kids that are stressed, that are showing some signs of depression, talk with the family, talk with the children, talk with anybody who is in that specialty and that can get to the bottom of the situation, because we want to prevent anything that's causing harm to our children. We want to be proactive, not reactive. Depression can lead to many things that are troublesome. I just talked about drugs, alcohol, self-medication. It also can lead to self-harm. It can begin with cutting, different things like that. Also suicide. It troubles me when I know that the stats of the amount of suicides and numbers that we see with youth. And it troubles me when I know that it wasn't too far away from my home and it reached into the home of my grandchildren, that they knew about suicide at the young age that they are. And that's troubling when you think about a 10-year-old boy thinking that because he's being bullied every day, it was better to take his own life than to face another day. Wow. And the response from the school, there was nothing they could do. That's not true. When there's so much we can do. Lead with 2 Rules gives you a blueprint of so much that you can do to help with being proactive and not reactive. If we can begin to start teaching a lot of these skills, we can be better together. And that's what I hope that we can do. I don't want to hear any more about children taking their own lives because they don't feel good and they don't feel safe. Because we can help them to feel good and to feel safe by following Lead with 2 Rules and the practices of this every single day, and with home, school, and community working together to make that happen. Suicide has no age limit, unfortunately. And the way of the world right now is filled with so much negativity, and it's not something you can turn off because it is turned on 24/7. The social media access with the phones, with the media platforms, it's with the kids consistently 24/7 if they have access to internet. And they do. I wish I could tell you that we could flip a switch and we can make it all go away. We can't. I know in my years of education, we saw the cell phone come in. They were banned from the schools, and then they were reintroduced to the schools because they thought that it would provide an extra resource for kids if there was trouble that was coming with a school shooter or this or that, and that would be one more tool they could use to get help. And then now we're seeing it as a huge distraction in education, and then kids videotaping fights. That's caused a young girl to kill herself because a group of girls attacked her. It was videotaped, and she told her dad she couldn't get that out of her mind because it was replaying over and over again. It happened in the school day. She kept watching it in the evening. She killed herself that night, and the next day, no more. But the video is still out there, I'm sure. They can't escape it, they feel, because that media, that outlet, those sources are there. We have to do better at helping our children feel safe and to feel good. And we need to put these things into place and into practice so that we can help them. So that's our solution Saturday. We want to help our kids feel good and to feel safe. Here's our problem: depression. We're getting ready to go into spring break and then soon into summer. We were going to have kids that possibly could be feeling some depression, some anxiety, not knowing if they're going to have their friends. They're not knowing about what's happening at home. They're not knowing lots of different things. If kids are bullying them, they're not feeling like they have someone they could look up to. They're not feeling like they belong. All of those things are piling up on them. So our solution is this. We're going to put into place lead with 2 rules: feeling good and feeling safe, and watch for those warning signs of depression. First step. Step number 2, I would really like to challenge all of our schools to work with your community and to build a community calendar so that when the children leave the schools, they have with them a calendar that their families can have access to, that they have something that is going on either by the school or in the community that's going on all summer long, that they have the opportunity to go to and attend. That's either free or at a very reduced cost that families can enjoy together. I want you to try to have some camps. I want you to try to have some resources available. I want you to connect with organizations so that you have opportunities to get kids physicals so that when it's time to get back to school, they already have those things taken care of. I would love for you to do that. And please share it out with me and others of all the ideas that you have on helping your community work together with you and your parents and your students to help fight back on depression, anxiety, and suicide by providing opportunities for them to be engaged over the summer. I really hope I can see so many ideas coming up. Thank you. That's our solution for this Saturday. I'll see you next Saturday. Blessings. Have a great spring break if it's your time. Thank you.